Rick, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for making some time to visit again.
Matt, as always, I'm excited to have a conversation with you today. So been looking forward to this.
Yes, thank you so much. So as we prepare for our third annual Winning with Walmart Solution Summit, there were just a handful of people that I made on a list of paper said, these are some folks that have been in the game long enough, been sort of part of the Northwest Arkansas, so Walmart supplier community. Of course, your business goes far beyond Walmart, but there's a handful of folks that have been in the game long enough that they would be able to offer some perspective from a past, present, and future point of view. So first of all, for the folks that don't know you, tell us a little bit about your story, how you ended up in Northwest Arkansas, and sort of
Yeah.
your professional journey up to and including the work you're doing at Field Agent.
I kind of joke with people. I'm one of the few people living in Northwest Arkansas that worked for Procter and Gamble, but never worked for Procter and Gamble here.
Hmm.
It's got a big hub here, and so
Yeah.
I came from the corporate world. Had spent some time in Asia doing an expat assignment, and really wanted to go down that entrepreneurial route. And had a good friend of mine, Henry Ho, who was working for the P&G Walmart team here, and we just wanted to be able to bring the skill set, the approach, the processes, that attitude that P&G had to the supplier community. And we decided to kind of jump off and make that happen. So that was 2001. And gosh, Matt, you fast forward and it seemed like it was just yesterday, but we launched Field Agent in 2010. We were the first app in iTunes that
Yeah.
paid cash way
I
back in
remember
the
the day.
day. But that was the first time of the businesses we had that we actually had a model that we could do a SaaS model that we could actually scale from a technology standpoint. And so we put all our eggs in that basket around 2011 and haven't looked back since. And so that's kind of my foray into to Field Agent and what we've been doing. And I think as you and have talked, I've officially moved into the chairman role. We've
Yeah.
got a new CEO that came in. We just had our largest acquisition today in a Series B funding. And it was just time for new leadership to come in. We could talk about what that meant to me and how that played out another time, but in a great place now. The company's doing really, really well. And we're just focused on helping people get data at retail and turning it into insights. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Yeah. So let me ask you, give us sort of an idea of what Field Agent does today, and I want you to do that sort of with the next question in mind, which is going to be, how did those things get done before?
Sure, sure. I think from the easiest way to look at things is that we have three broad ways of capturing data for our clients. The first is kind of a quantitative piece of data, and I'm going to weave in how it was done before. If you want to know what the price is at the shelf, or you're trying to figure out what the displays look like, or help me understand what Christmas looks like in a certain section, or what cough, cold, flu is going to look like, you were paying a broker, or you were flying all over the country to figure that out. In our world, we have about 3 million people that have downloaded our app, hundreds of thousands of people that are active every single day.
Hmm.
And then, Matt, while we're having this conversation in 30 minutes, I can be in 4, 5, 600 stores by the time we finish this conversation, because we have everyday shoppers that are out doing their business, and they get a ping on their phone, push notification that says, "Hey, while you're in Target, while you're in Walmart, would you take a quantitative picture?" In other words, give me a yes, no answer, a specific price. Now, the beauty of that is once you started getting scale, then our clients came to us and said, "Hey, Rick, while you're capturing that yes or a no of the price, do you think with enough people you could send in an 18 to 35-year-old female and now ask her opinion about the beauty section at Ulta or the beauty section at Walmart?" We're like, "Sure, we can." So then the second piece of data we provide is qualitative. Not only am I telling you yes, no, but now I'm giving an opinion, and the opinion is of your core shopper. And that just blew our client's mind, is that in near real time, we're capturing that. We're not flying people to moderate and do a shop along inside of a store in 5 locations. I'm in 1,000 locations today, and I'm telling you exactly what they think. So that was amazing. Well, the third facet that kicked in was this: "Hey, while they're there, do you think she could buy the product and try it and tell us what she thinks?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" So we now have this marketing aspect that we can do sampling. In other words, we can buy from the store, have it delivered to someone's home. They can try it, do research, kind of an in-home use test, or they can do a 5-star review, or they could post something on social media and kind of be a micro influencer. So that third avenue is the marketing piece. And then with our most recent acquisition of Shelfgram, we brought kind of that machine learning and artificial intelligence in to say, hey, what if we took this 15 years of data or very specific data for a category? And what if we started looking at it from a longitudinal standpoint? And now, Matt, I could tell you for the household cleaning category, I can tell you what has changed over the last year, new items that are in and out, brands that are coming in, how pricing has changed, because we now have gone longitudinally with AI and other tools to be able to make that happen. So not only am I giving you a snapshot in time, I now can tell you how it's changed over time. And so we really have become the data engine for why. I mean, you're still going to use Walmart data, you're going to purchase data from other folks, Nielsen, people like that, but it can't tell you the why. We're going to come in and give you the why, the perspective, and we give you that visual. Illuminate's important with Walmart. You need it. But once you understand what's going on with your Illuminate data, what if I told you I could give you a visual of all your competition across every market in the exact same category in near real time? And that's kind of where we are today, which has been really, really fun.
Yeah. Well, I remember vividly waking up that Saturday morning and seeing the app in in the Apple store and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this changes everything."
Yeah.
And your business, even Field Agent version 1.0 today, 14 years later, is still every much a game changer compared to where we were. I mean, you alluded to this before. The work was getting done, but it took forever. It cost a fortune. And so your ability to leverage this army of shoppers that are already in stores to do the work and to report,
Yeah.
quickly and offer insight. It just is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic journey for us. And what I often tell folks is that, listen, if all you want to do is understand a couple of stores, then you don't need us. Fine,
Yeah.
make that happen. If you got an amazing sales force out there and they're capturing information, that's great. But once you get into shopper perspective and you get into scale for multiple retailers, I mean, even within the quick serve restaurant area, we've gosh, I think we've probably given away 10,000 pizzas over the last year, right?
Mm.
Go buy a pizza, tell us what you think. When you start getting into that type of engagement, most of our competition can do that in quantities of tens and 20s, and I can do it in thousands and tens of thousands. And it just blows people minds when I look at the coverage, the cost, and the speed that we do this. And now with the shelfgram approach and the I can give you that longitudinal look. You never have to leave your house. I mean, you have this
Yeah.
data coming in. It's almost like when you want to Google something. In essence, you can just simply do the same thing with Field Agent, and we're going to give you real-time information back.
Yeah. So in the context, broad question, but in the context of winning with Walmart and in light of your own capabilities as an organization, what does winning with Walmart look like today?
Yeah, I think it gets back into the why aspect of things because in many ways, I don't want to say all things are equal, but everyone has access to their own data the same way.
Mm.
And so I understand my data. If you're category captain, you get different looks into things. But where we come into things is to say that in order to really have the scale that you need to have and that competitive advantage, the people that understand the why are the ones that are going to be the movers and the ones that are really going to have influence within Walmart. Because again, they have so much data today to be able to garner insights in the why. That's what winning looks like at Walmart. No longer is it that the reason you win is because you provided 3 resources to crank through data. They don't need that anymore. I mean, they've got their own version of AI, machine learning. I mean, they can process data. Well, hey, we're really going to be successful because we're going to do something really, really efficient. Well, you can't do it at scale. So I think winning today is really getting into that next phase. And the second thing is we find this so often. Walmart, like many other retailers that are out there today, doesn't necessarily know exactly what's going on at their competitors
Mm.
any more than you would know by simply making store visits. A
Mm.
buyer's going to go to a market, they get a feel for things, they still can't provide scale. So we come alongside and say, listen, if your buyer is going to the Atlanta market, then let us come alongside with you to say, hey, once they come back with 2 or 3 interesting insights, why don't you come back and say, guess what? I've checked the top 100 markets and it's only in the Southeast. So that type of perspective makes you a different player to be able to win, at Walmart. And I think the final thing is, um, if you if you wait for your buyer to tell you there was a new item or an issue, it's already too late. The thing that we're doing with our modular shelfgram is that today I can tell you that one store or 2 stores changed and a new brand popped up that's never been there before.
Hmm.
You could literally be 30, 60 days ahead of the buyer and 30, 60 days ahead of your competitors because you now know that that new item is starting to trickle in or the pricing is starting to change. So I guess in totality, if you really want to win, you have to be able to tell why. You have to be able to provide those insights at scale, and you have to be able to come along and give them better perspective of what's happening at competition.
Yeah. It used to be that a lot of the heavy lifting, like pre-field days, a lot of the heavy lifting, only the great big companies with the great big budgets could do those things.
Fair.
Could have people inside stores. And one of the things I love so much about your business, even at the very beginning, is you sort of democratized the access to intelligence and so forth. So I say that to set up the next question, which is you have a lot of brands in and out of your office over the years, many brands, all sizes, stages, and categories. You can answer this question one or two ways. When you think about sort of best in class, the companies are doing really well. What are the things that they're focusing on now today that maybe they weren't even in the last couple of years? And maybe the flip of that question, if you prefer to answer it this way, is the companies that are leaving, missing out on low hanging fruit. What is that low hanging fruit?
Yeah, someone told me this once, and I read it on the internet, so it's got to be true. Okay,
Right.
it's got to be true. He said, "Gone are the days of large CPG companies organically growing to become $1 billion brand."
Hmm.
The days are those.
It's not going to just happen.
What's going to happen is you're going to have these really small, edgy brands
Hmm.
that are out there that grow to be 1 million to 5 million to 10 million to 100 million, and a CPG company is going to buy one of those and they're going to scale it to 1 billion, and that's what's going to happen. So what we start to see happening in our world to understand what from that perspective is that understanding what's happening with these edgy brands, in most cases, it's a rounding error when you get big data. And I'm not picking on the Ira Nielsen's. I mean, I'm not picking on them, but when you look at that 2% other or that 3% other, a year from now, part of that other could be the next 100 million, $200 million brand. So that perspective and understanding new, and that was the answer to that earlier question as well, is that we help people come alongside to say, wow, that's really interesting. I've never seen that brand before. I knew it was I heard about it online and this kind of edgy thing from these influencers. Oh my gosh, they're they're in 3 markets.
Hmm.
And yeah, I better start paying attention to that. And so those are the types of things that if you're really putting your arms around it, the best in class guys, they're not only looking at their core competitors, P&G and Unilever, right? Kraft and Kellogg's. I get all that. But they're now looking at these young things that they would have just
Challenger
considered a
brands.
nuisance. They're not a nuisance. And not only could they cause them a problem, more importantly, they could be missing out on the next big acquisition opportunity because you and I both know those are the types of brands that are getting just gobbled up today, making these big CPG companies even bigger.
Yeah. So the last question I'm going to ask you, this time around is sort of look into the future. There's so many things happening at an accelerated pace. Obviously, artificial intelligence is getting all the press, but you got brand consolidation, you got retail consolidation, you got changes in shopper, shopping patterns, and consumer smarter than they've ever been before. What would be some of the things that you are looking toward either inside or outside the core competencies and capabilities of your own organization? What are some things that supplier teams today need to be thinking about based on sort of the tailwinds and even some of the headwinds?
Yeah, I use couple of analogies. The first analogy is that no one thought that Amazon would do anything more than sell a few books, right?
Hmm.
Like, whatever. They're not going to do anything more. And they said, I would say in the next 10 years, there'll be 0 books. It's all gonna be a digital book. And then you realize it never really became a digital, but they ended up having about 30% of the market in digital. Says, people are never gonna go to the store anymore. They're just gonna
Yeah.
shop everything online, everything delivered to their house, and it's about, 30% of that market. When you took of that next piece of the pickup and delivery type of thing, I think it's gonna be really interesting to see if that begins to shift back because we all know that retailers are worried about every penny, the cost, the shifting to and fro of the register and what's happening with the register. And is it gonna be just your own, shopping where you do self checkout or is it be something different? And I say all that to say that I don't know if RFID is the answer, but in this new world coming up, if you're not thinking about how you're going to use technology, packaging changes, the way you change your package to make it more efficient for a retailer to pick it, more efficient for a retailer to ensure it's not stolen, more efficient for someone to simply ship it. I think you're behind right now. I'm. It does find it more and more interesting to see the number of people that are not entering a store. I thought it would be a COVID trend. It would kind of shift back, and it did shift back some, but man, I think it's here to stay. And you've read enough things, like I have to say, guys, shrink is a real issue, you know, and the labor is a real issue. So I wouldn't say change my packaging tomorrow, but I would think twice about, man, that barcode maybe should be easier to read.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do something with the package so that they're not locking it up somewhere. It can stay out on the shelf because I've made it easier for them to worry about shrink. Those are the kind of things that I would be figuring out, especially if I had items that were higher margin, higher value items, because the last thing you want to do with the self checkout and the way that things are playing out is to have all your stuff locked up somewhere. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of figure that out. So that would be the interesting thing I think in front of us. And I think the other aspect of it is we all have to figure, this one out. Um, Elections happen
Mm.
because of that. Changes will happen, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see the number of companies that are in China today where they're going to begin shifting. And I've talked to a multitude of suppliers today that said, "Listen, we've been working for 3 months now. I try to move our manufacturing from China to Vietnam or China to Thailand because we know the tariffs are going to kick in." And I think if I was in the US manufacturing or I was somewhere else, I would begin trying to take advantage of my competition that I know is gonna have to shift, because if they don't shift soon, the tariffs are coming. And I think that's really gonna be interesting for folks. If you're not already thinking about moving to another country, as to what impact that's gonna have to you and I as consumers, and what impacts it's gonna have as a supplier to be able to stay in China. It's gonna be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Great stuff. Rick, I'm going to let you end with the last word. Tell us about Field Agents Marketplace and the best way for someone to engage with the organization.
Yeah, I think just going right to fieldagent.net, obviously it takes you right in. What we always tell folks is that if you're a startup or a small company, it's a simple credit card and $15, $20 later, you're capturing data. For anyone else, obviously, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. But again, info@fieldagent.net. We can get a customer, client success person or a salesperson to engage you. We're really, really easy to find.
Yeah. Rick West, co-founder and now chairman of Field Agent. Congratulations on your 14-year overnight success story. Congratulations to you and your team, and really just been a pleasure for me to get to catch up with you. Have a great day.
As always, appreciate it, Matt. Thanks.
Thank you.